What's up, humans? Welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Today is a very interesting one for me because it really struck a chord watching Dr. Sean Esbjorn-Hargens, who is a PhD, and he's the Dean of Integral Education at the California Institute of Human Science and Program Director of the MA PhD program in Integral Noetic Sciences in California. So he was, the first time I saw him, he used to work for the CIA. And he was on the Danny Jones podcast, speaking about incredible experiences he had, talking about these downloads that he gets and alleged communication with a non-human intelligence. But he was recently, about 2 days ago, with Dr. Jeffrey Mishlove on New Thinking Aloud, which is one of the best shows on the paranormal out there. They work together. He spoke to Dr. Mishlove about this concept that he's developing known as the super experiencers. This is a category of experiencers who have multiple different anomalous experiences. And that clicked for me because in recent months, there's been like an uptick on orb sighting, sleep paralysis, even communication with non-human entities. People have been reporting these increasingly. And I wanted to talk about this just so people can know what the super experiencer is. Let Dr. Sean Esbjorn-Hargens tell you. Here's the clip.
How would you define a super experiencer as opposed to a regular experiencer?
Yeah, I'll do that, but let me just give a little context of kind of how I arrived at the notion of super experiencer, because it kind of helps set the stage. I was noticing in my own life and in colleagues and friends of mine who were having anomalous experiences, and also in the literature, that there seemed to be some individuals who primarily had one kind of, let's call it superpower, right? Where, they would have, a number of angelic experiences throughout their life. Or they would, on a semi-regular basis have precognitive dreams that seemed really important and help them, gain an understanding of their life and future events. Other people might have a series of Bigfoot encounters, and other people who are wanting to have Bigfoot encounters aren't having any of that happen in their life. And so, and also in the UAP space, in the UFO space, which I'm very interested in, you would have some people who are seeing them all the time and other people who would, love to see a UFO in the sky. So I became really curious, like, why are some people having these experiences and other people not having these experiences? And then why do some people seem to have basically kind of one set of experiences and other people seem to have another set of experiences? And I started to hypothesize that it might be related to our multiple subtle bodies and the various inner senses connected to our subtle bodies and our chakras. So that basically kind of the working hypothesis is that, different individuals have different parts of their esoteric anatomy kind of activated and integrated, and that enables them to have different types of perceptual experiences of phenomena that are not part of, general perception or experience in our consensus reality. But then I started noticing that some people seem to have experiences across the full range, right? They were having poltergeist experiences. They were having precognitive dreams. They were having UFO encounters and Bigfoot encounters. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like, why are these people like so open that they're just like kind of all this phenomena seems to present itself to them at one point or another throughout their life? And then I decided, I was inspired by the free research and Ray Hernandez and what they were doing. And I wanted to build on that work because that was about 10 years ago that they ran that survey. And so I decided to reach out to Chris Bledsoe, and who's, well-known experiencer in the UFO space. And then also another person, Melinda Greer, no relationships to Stephen Greer, a different Greer, but she's a retired doctor, and I sent them both an email because I knew they were super experiencers in a sense, right? That term hadn't yet fully coalesced, but I knew that they were these individuals that just had a lifetime of experiences. Though interestingly, with Chris Bledsoe, his really started after his big event that, happened just a few years ago. But as is often the case when you start asking these individuals questions, turns out they had a near-death experience when they're young, and they had an out-of-body experience, and there does tend to be phenomena and anomalous experiences that go back way early in their life. So I emailed both these individuals a list of 30 experiences. I just dumped every possible experience I could think of on this email. And it just had so many different possible transpersonal, psychedelic, noetic, anomalous experiences. And I just said, hey, can you just go down this list and next to each item, just write yes, no, or maybe, right? I just want to get a sense of the range of experiences you've had. Melinda responded, and about 75% of the items she said yes to. And that blew me away. I was just like, wow, an individual who's experienced that full range of weirdness, that's just crazy cool. So then Chris responds, and Chris had said yes to every item except body marks. And then I thought, oh my gosh, wow, I'm just scratching the surface here. The feeling I had was if I could have come up with 10 more items and put them on the list, Chris probably would have said yes to most of those as well. So this, in effect, kind of launched the Super Experiencer Research Project. And the way I define it at this point, though, we're in the process of, kind of confirming the operational definition with my advisory board, which I'm very happy and proud to say that you're a member of, Jeff. So thank you again for supporting me in this work in that context. Right now, I'm defining Super Experiencer as an individual who has experienced 4 or more anomalous categories of experience throughout their life, right? And so that could be that maybe they had a 5 or 6 year period when they were younger. It could be that they had nothing when they were young, but now as an adult, they're having that. And in the recent course that I taught at the California Institute for Human Science, where I'm program director of a master's and PhD program in integral noetic sciences, I just taught an anomalous research practicum course. And in that course, we, me with, over a dozen graduate students, began creating the first draft of the survey questions that will be part of phase 1 of the Super Experiencer Research Project. And we've come up with about 500 questions, which is a lot. But the thing is we identified the major categories of experience. And so when I say a super experiencer is someone who's had 4 or more of these experiences, currently these are the categories that I have in mind, right? So there's out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, psychic experiences, psychedelic experiences, encounters with non-human intelligences, transpersonal dream experiences, paranormal experiences, UAP encounters, and mystical or noetic experiences. So these 9 categories emerged in the context of us doing extensive literature review, talking with a lot of different super experiencers, and trying to get a sense of what are the major camps that these experiences fall into. Now, of course, whenever you're doing this kind of research, it's problematic because people are having a holistic experience in real time that often ticks many of those boxes. So to get them to kind of pull it apart and say, well, this part goes in that box and this part goes in that box, of course that's challenging and there's limits and there's problems with that. Nevertheless, the way we're designing it is people can tick multiple boxes. They can highlight the links, between these aspects of the experience. But you have to differentiate before you can integrate, right? And so this is the differentiation phase. There seem to be these 9 major overlapping, non-mutually exclusive categories of anomalous and noetic experiences that people have. And some people tend to gravitate towards just 1 or 2 of them. Some people have 4 or more. And like you were saying with the PK man, has 6, 7, 8 of these, ticked in on his sheet, so to speak.
Okay, so when I heard that, the first thing I thought were my experiences, which are many. I haven't had contact with a non human intelligence that I know of. I did have a strange experience about 2 weeks ago that I'm going to tell you about at the end of this video. But for now, I'm going to name and count the experiences I had that I consider anomalous. The first one was when I was very little. I was sleeping in one of those dual beds, and I was at the top of it. And it was this strange phenomenon that when my mom went to tuck me in and she turned off the light, as soon as she turned it off, the ceiling was filled with cockroaches. And I got really spooked and I jumped out of the bed, turned on the light, and the ceiling was just clean, white. And I was like, okay, that's weird. So I jumped back on the bed. I turned off the light. I jumped back on the bed. And when I laid down, the cockroaches were there again. And I started screaming. And my mom came rushing to the room, asked me what was going on. I told her what was going on. She was like, you're okay, you're okay. See, nothing's in there. And that was that. That was my first experience that I cannot explain what the hell happened. She was also like, you told me you were seeing cockroaches in the ceiling and that it was like infested with cockroaches. So there was nothing there. You were hallucinating, or I don't know. So that was that. My second experience was with that shaman that I told you guys about. The shaman that made a rock materialize inside my mouth with my mouth completely shut. It was a red rock about yay big. And the shaman told me that he removed something negative from my body, that he cleaned me up. There were multiple witnesses there. I have no way of explaining how the hell he did it. After years of investigating and research, now I know that shamans do have that capacity to materialize stuff. And the Western world and debunkers and skeptics will come at me saying that I was hallucinating or whatever, and saying that Dr. Jacobo Greenberg's study on 4 different shamans is bunk. He went with 4 different shamans and he saw things that he cannot explain, and he was one of the most important scientists in Mexico's history. He doesn't know how to explain it either. He saw Pachita materialize organs out of thin air. That's what he says he saw. I'm not saying this is true. I'm saying that's what he says he saw. What I'm telling you that I saw is something that I think is true because it happened to me. There were witnesses. They saw it too. So I don't know what to tell you guys, especially you debunkers. You guys need to get a life, honestly, because if you're going to be doubting everyone who keeps coming forward and tries to tell their experience, you guys are like one of the main problems with all of this. The main issue with people trying to believe and trying to understand these anomalous experiences, and you coming in and rationalizing it and shutting people down just because you haven't experienced anything. I would think that you guys have a little bit of envy that you haven't experienced a thing. But that's just my belief. That's just my thought. So that's 2 experiences for me. The third one and fourth one have to do with psychedelics, which is the telepathy that I told you guys I experienced with 2 other people who to this day also say that we did experience that. And this telepathy with psychedelics is an occurrence that keeps happening in psychedelic communities, in raves and communes far away in the forest. It happens. It's real. It's not their imagination. I know because I experienced it, and I kept asking people who were there if they experienced it too. They said yes. So it's not our imagination, guys. The other one is something that I experienced by myself. Someone realized what was happening, and that person was spooked, and he doesn't speak to me to this day. This experience is environment manipulation, which has to do with me thinking that I want something and being in a state of mind in psychedelics that is so strong that it attracts whatever my mind is thinking. This happened to me twice. The second time was less evident because what I wanted was to convince a police officer to let one of my friends go. And I did it. Even though my friend did have drugs in him, I convinced him to let my friend go, and I convinced him to leave us with the weed that we had on us. He didn't take it, and he left. He didn't take money from us. He didn't take us to jail. Nothing. Just by talking to him, I convinced him. And we were violating laws at the time. That happened too. The other one is way more fantastical and is the one that spooked my friend, which has to do when I was at a rave. I attracted several things that I thought about without asking them verbally. That includes a specific kind of food, water, and going to a cabin that had like a bathtub and getting a shower, getting a bath. That's exactly what I asked for, and that's exactly what I got. And I had no idea we were going to go to a cabin or anything. I thought we were going home after the rave, so that happened. And when this guy that was with us realized that I was doing it, he was like, "How are you doing this?" I was like, "I don't know. It must be the LSD." That's the only explanation I have for that. So those are 4 anomalous experiences. Even though I haven't made any type of contact with any non-human intelligence before, I consider those anomalous experiences. I had a 5th one in December 4th, 2014. I had an overdose with multiple substances, and I was very close to dying. I felt like my heart was gonna just explode. I eventually realized that these are called fear-death experiences because I didn't lose consciousness per se. I kind of did a little bit for like a few seconds, but then I came back, and it did go all black for a second, and then I came back, and my heart was pounding like never before. That was the scariest experience I've ever had in my life. From that moment forward, something changed within me. I started processing information in a different way, way more information than I used to process before that, and I managed to just cold turkey everything. I stopped smoking, I stopped drinking for a while, I stopped drugs all completely. Now that I realize that I am less controlled by this idea of addiction, I can drink. I don't have a problem with alcohol. I can, if I want to have like a gummy or something. I did make it a point for me to not get smoke in my lungs anymore because I know I hurt them. So I don't smoke. No hard drugs for me, and it's been a decade, and I'm really proud of that, to be honest with you. But yeah, something did change in me after that. And that's when I started hearing voices. Maybe a psychiatrist will tell me I'm a schizophrenic. Maybe their diagnosis is spot on. Maybe it's wrong. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist nor a psychologist. But I do hear voices almost daily. And these voices, I know that they are not my own because they are ideas that gets me like in an urge to execute these ideas. That's where the podcast came from. That's where my videos come from because contrary to other people who like have a schedule of videos prepared for weeks, I don't do that. I leave it to the fates to help me prepare the video of the day. Let me give you an example. The John Burroughs interview came about a day before it happened. The Simon Holland interview came about a day before it happened. A lot of the videos that I do are from news of the day, and that's where I get my idea, and that's how I create a video. There are some videos that I do plan ahead. This one, for example, I saw the video of the podcast of Dr. Mishlove with Dr. Sean Esbjorn-Hargens, and I planned on it. So those are 5 experiences. 2 weeks ago, I finished work. It was a Saturday night, and I started getting these waves of fear throughout my whole body. I wasn't able to sleep. There were thoughts that kept telling me to go out and look at the sky, and I started feeling this fear that something would happen if I got out. And I kept telling these voices, no, I'm not going out. No, I'm not going out. And then these same voices started telling me that, I don't know, it's crazy, guys. They told me that I could get abducted. So I completely ignored them. And I was scared shitless. And I didn't listen to them. I wasn't able to sleep until like nearly 4 a.m. I was trembling. You know what helped me? I went down and I laid down with my three dogs, and I stayed there with them, and they took the fear away from me, which is really amazing. That's one of the many reasons I love dogs. So that I considered it was an anomalous experience. I cannot explain how it happened, why it happened, and I'm just glad that I ignored those voices at that moment. I want you guys to tell me. Let me know in the comments, what are your experiences? They don't necessarily have to be with a non-human intelligence. They don't necessarily have to be looking at orbs, or, because Hargens did mention Chris Bledsoe there. I think Chris is a super experiencer. I don't know if I would consider myself a super experiencer. I'm just telling you the experiences I had. I wanted to share them with you, and I want you guys to share yours with me, because I think it's important. And please don't hesitate. Don't mind these debunkers and skeptics. They don't matter. They really don't. We gotta ignore them. That's it. They will come around when stuff starts to become more evident, which is already starting. So they will come around. For now, let's just ignore it, and let's just talk between ourselves, share our experiences, and be respectful in the comments, please. Everybody has a weird experience. I can guarantee it. Everybody. Some people rationalize them more than others, but we all do. We all have them. And you will be surprised how many of them have more than 4. I promise you. This is going to help us understand ourselves better, and to not be as prejudiced towards experiencers as we tend to be. Because that stigma needs to die. We need to understand experiencers better, because we have the capacity to become experiencers. Many of us already are, and we don't even realize it. So the faster we realize this, the better it will be for all of us to understand each other. Okay? So thank you for watching. If you like the content you see, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs and the bell notification. Please, if you want to share it, do so respectfully, and tag me if you can. You can tag my Twitter, it's in the description, and the Psicoactivo Twitter, it's in the description too. If you want to support the channel in any other way, I got 3 or 4 links below where you can support either with donations or by getting something for the podcast through the wish list on Amazon. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think. And without further ado, I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video. Bye.